Okay, so as you're probably aware, I'm recording this video in stages on separate days, and it's actually been several weeks since I recorded the last segment, and that's because I was waiting for one of these coming in the post. This is an IDC cable. It's just a ribbon cable. You can order them with many arrangements of pins. They can be double row, single row. I forget what they go up to, but they're just a kind of standard ribbon cable type. And that's what's used to connect the display to the motherboard. In fact, I also ordered some sockets for this cable in the event that I was going to have one of those displays where the holes actually lined up on the end. I could have attached a socket to it so that it was easily disconnectable. That would have been a good idea. But at the minute, at least, it looks like we're probably just sticking with the original display with those pins that I added. The reason it's been several weeks is I cheaped out and decided to order one from China. It was actually listed on Amazon. It wasn't from AliExpress or anything like that. I knew it was going to come from China. But unfortunately, I mean, China is getting pretty good nowadays. Normally the airmail comes within about, I don't know, a week. And this one just happened to take like a month to come. And then to make it worse, when it actually arrived, it arrived in the middle of me decorating my house. And in all the mess and everything like that, I couldn't find where I put the damn thing. I had the whole house apart looking for it. So I ended up having to order another one off Amazon anyway. This time I ordered it from a UK seller. Damn the expense. So we've got a cable that we think we can connect the display up with. We know that the display is functioning, although as it is at the moment, I think I'm going to have to reposition the actual screen itself to get a good connection with the back, because I don't think the characters were displaying properly. That's okay, that happened the first time I took it off and put it back on again. You've just got to get the positioning right, so hopefully I'm going to trust that if I take that off, I'll be able to get it working again, no problem. Famous last words. That ribbon cable, it's going to require a little bit of teasing to get it to go on those pins, because the pins aren't exactly straight, but I'm quite confident I can get it on there, so that's fine. So that only really leaves me with the backlight to deal with. Now, we've already tried several of these backlights, as you know. I think some of them were dead on arrival, some of them worked and then rapidly burnt out. And we think the reason that did burn out was because of the backlight, so at least the backlights on the units that I'm buying aren't designed to be connected directly up to the 5-volt power supply. I did find a data sheet for one of them somewhere, and it did explicitly say, although it is to be connected to a 5-volt power supply, if you do that without any kind of resistor in place, too much current will flow through the display and it will burn out. And I think that's exactly what happened with us, because the display was working, but it was very bright, and after a couple of minutes of use, it burnt out. So that data sheet for that particular display recommended a value of about 10 ohms resistance to go in series with the display. Now, I would imagine actually this original Yamaha one probably actually has an embedded component on the circuit board there which gives us that 10 ohm resistance, but this one for whatever reason does not. So I have some 10 ohm resistors. I'm going to trust that probably all of the displays that I'm buying are probably going to have the same requirements. So I see no reason why I can't just basically connect that backlight up in series with the 10 ohm resistor and get it done. So that's the job I'm going to go for now. I'm going to stick a bit of tally on and just get on with soldering. Just to make the job a little bit neater, I do have some heat shrink and various other little bits and bobs that you'll see me use. Hopefully it's the right size. I wasn't entirely sure what size to buy, to be quite honest with you. One thing I would ask actually, if anyone else out there is actually watching with a bit of knowledge about this stuff, is actually what the name for these kind of connectors are that are going on the motherboard. They're similar but not the same as the fan connectors that you would get actually on a PC motherboard, but they're not quite there. They're a slightly different socket type, these white ones, but as you can see they're not quite the same as these IDC ones I mentioned. Because I would have liked to have probably just actually bought another one of those cables, but it's going to be easier just to fabricate my own wires, I think. Alright, so soldering iron's warming up, let's crack on. So we lost the camera to heat once more there. All I've done is attach the ribbon cable, which took a little bit of pin bending, but it is now firmly on there, so hopefully that's making good contact. I've also tinned the wires and sewn a 10 ohm resistor, soldered a 10 ohm resistor in series there. Just going to take some heat shrink. I bought two different sizes of heat shrink because I wasn't quite sure which one to get. I'll try the smaller one first. Seems to be working pretty nicely actually. Gone a little bit over the top there with the length of it, but it's fine. Looks like it's going to work quite well. Looks good. Do also actually have a new soldering iron sat there, but I'm waiting until I get the new workspace sorted to break it out. What I still haven't ordered is one of those little things that'll hold things in place while you solder them. Okay, so the good news and the bad news. I've got the power for the backlight connected, and at the moment I've got the temporary mock-up wires there taking place of the cable. And if I connect power to the unit, I have a backlight, and I hope you can see there as well, if I adjust the camera, we have a full string of text on the screen, which is magnificent. I've had the backlight on for quite some time and it doesn't show any danger of burning out, at least not yet, so that's great as well. So the display is effectively working great. However, there's been one spanner in the works. Unfortunately, the ribbon cable that I've bought seems to be, for a polite way of putting it, messing up the pinout coming out of that socket. I know just by chance that if I hold the display over the socket there, the pinout matches that of the motherboard. For whatever reason, if I connect this cable and then connect it either way around to these pins, it doesn't work, and slightly more alarming than that, it makes the driver chip get very hot very quickly. So I was obviously quite quick to disconnect that. I also tried mocking up putting one of those sockets that I bought on the back, just in case that moved the pin arrangement around, and it still didn't work. Still did exactly the same thing. So we know all the base components are there for it to work, but we know for whatever reason this cable is not. So what I'm actually going to do is go away and do some research into this cable and see if I can figure out where we're going wrong, if there's an alternative. I could of course mock up a cable to take its place. I think the easiest way to do that for me actually would probably be to actually just buy some longer ones of these and I don't know, maybe hot glue them in place or something like that. But it strikes me as odd that this cable wouldn't do what I'm expecting. I've got a feeling it must be mirroring or reversing the pin out in some way, but we'll find out back in a moment. So I've gone back and watched the footage of when I removed the original ribbon cable, and I have confirmed that the IDC cable that I bought was connected in exactly the same way as the original ribbon cable, but for some reason whenever I connect it up nothing happens and these chips get very hot as if something's shorting out or I've connected something up wrong. I mean, I've literally traced the wires from the video just to make sure that I am putting it on the correct way around. The only other possibility is if the cable was reversing the front and back rows, just because of the way this connector works. And I've tried flipping the connector in that way on the cable to make sure that that wasn't the case, and it seems to be resulting in exactly the same problem. So I really don't know what's going on with that cable. I feel like it can't possibly be something as simple as a cable shorting out. Maybe that's just because I'm inexperienced and I want to believe that it's something I'm doing wrong, but it's very, very odd indeed. Now, that being the case, I think what I'm going to do in the meantime is I've actually bought some of these, I keep forgetting what the connectors on the end of them are called, but the same connectors that I've been using to mock up a cable, but I bought some longer ones, and it's actually only something like about £2 for like 10 of these. No, £2 for about 20 of these actually, I think. So it's actually technically even cheaper than a proper cable. But it's not ideal, especially from the point of a resale or something like that. The last thing I want to do is make someone think I've kind of bodged it together, which I guess I kind of have to some extent. But I'm going to get these connectors connected up in place, and I'm going to see if it works, and if it does work I'm going to get it back on there, and I might use just a tad of hot glue just to keep these connectors in place, and I think we'll call that a day for now. I mean, I think it would be really beneficial for people in the future if I can actually persevere with this and suss out how to go about just cheaply replacing the screen from scratch. What I may well do is actually order some more screens and cables and things like that and continue to mock them up and try swapping them out again just to see if it makes a difference. The only thing I'm probably still going to have to research is what this power connector is actually called. As I said before, I think it looks very similar to a fan connector you would get on a PC, but that's not what it is. So I need to find that out, but otherwise we already know what we need to buy. But as I say, I'll get these threaded through now. Okay, so that's all the wires connected up as they should be. Let's see if they work. Certainly looks like it does to me. Yep, so those wires are definitely working. So yeah, as I said, I think what I might just do, in fact, I don't even know if it needs that. I might just apply a little bit of glue not to the socket, but just to the wires to hold them all together as one kind of coherent ribbon cable. And then I might just leave that as it is for now, because this project has been on my bench for literally weeks with waiting for parts coming from China and all that kind of thing. And at the end of the day, I'm just going to use it for my own personal use. So if something goes a little bit wrong with it and I need to look at it again at a later date, then, well, I'm okay with that. Yeah, more than happy with that. So there we have it. We'll have a sound demo in a later video, but I think this video has gone on long enough. Just to quickly recap, we took the power supply out and found that it had been recapped. We didn't actually get round to taking out the main system board, but it all looks in pretty good nick to me, so I'm just going to see if it works or not, basically. If we find any problems with it, then of course I will take it out and have a look. The display is just a stereotypical 16:2 display that you can still buy today, although the correct size and pin configuration are pretty difficult to buy. The connector to the main board is an IDC cable, although we've had some trouble with that. But as I say, I will try and follow this up at a later date to find out if we can actually successfully, cheaply manufacture a replacement supply. I hope you've enjoyed this video. As you can probably tell, when it comes to the electronic side of things, I'm a bit of an amateur, but I always find it's sort of fun to explore these things, and I hope you have a little bit of fun watching me do it as well. Until next time, goodbye.